Hello, guys. We are going to go over the second um, section of the arthropods, which is Subphylum Crustacea. The nickname for them is insects of the sea. And examples in this subphylum are lobster, crayfish, shrimps. You're familiar with all of them. You ate lobster, crayfish, shrimp, crabs. Barnacles, I don't know you have ate them or not, but I have not. But anyhow, water flea, I don't think you have been drinking them. They're very small, microscopic, but anyhow. They have mandibles, so another nickname, that's why they call them insects, because the insects have mandible, and that's why they call them insects of the sea. Two mandibles to crush the food, two maxilla to shred the food, two pairs of antenna and maxilla. Sensory, masticatory, and food handling, these are cephalothorax, thorax and abdominal appendages for swimming and walking. Those are the parts. First pair of the leg is a chiliped bearing chile, and I show you some pictures when I show you a lobster or a crayfish. I'll show you those, which one is which. And then the function is grasping food, predations and defense, all of that. That's why when you go to red lobster, they have the rubber band around their chilla. Okay, it's called chilla. So it depends on the size of the animals. They can pierce and defend themselves for all. Swimmerets for swimming and reproduction. The very first swimmerets of the male, it goes to the first swimmerets of the female. Okay, and that's what it is for swimming. And also the very first one, you have 4 or 5 of them. It's called swimmerets. The appendages are branched by ramus. So the appendage, what I mean, the swimmerets or legs, they are by ramus. Okay, they're like that. You've seen the term biramus in Nereus vernus. Okay. And rostrum or anterior end of the animals, telson, they do have telson. It's not like telson of the horseshoe crab. It's flat, you will see it, and it allows the animal to swim in the water for balance used. Uropod and tail fans is, again, those two are used for balance while the animal is using. They have carapace. You're familiar with this term, and then covers as a cephalothorax. Pterygm, the exoskeleton plates on the posterior portion of the animals is called pterygm. Sternum, they are on the portion of the animal, not the anterior, ventral sternum, or sterno is plural, you know. Telson is where the abdomen terminates, and anus is found here, just like you saw it in horseshoe crab. Coelom is around the excretory organs and gonads. So muscles are striated, and flexor muscles draw apart toward the body, and extensor muscles is straightened out. Open circulatory system, blood is hemolymph. So the first class, the only class that we are going to study in this subphylum is class Mallophaga. Okay, Mallophaga, largest class. Astacus astacus is the name of the crayfish. When you go to the river and you see a crayfish, or somewhere in the United States, I'm talking about the United States, and you see a small crayfish, that's Astacus astacus. So whatever from, scientists like to say the East Coast has a different name, and the one from West Coast, they are pretty much, most of them is Astacus astacus. Gills are like feather, and you'll see some pictures. They have mandible for biting, mandible of the seal, large chiliped for offense, defense, and catching and handling, and hemocyanin. They have these, their blood has this copper, and it's a blue shape, and that's what they call it, hemocyanin. Stomach has cardiac chambers and pyloric chambers. Cornea of the eye is divided into facets, 2 compound eye, 2 antenna, and antennials. So these animals, this subphylum crustacean, they do have antenna and antennials smaller, antenna larger, antennials smaller, unlike the the last subphylum I talked about it. Okay, Chelicerata. Chelicerata do not have antenna. 2 antenna and 2 antennials at the base of the antennials. They have statocyst sac, so it contains statolith. If you study the anatomy of the ear, statolith, they're little stones, rocks in our ear, which is used for balance. Okay, and of course, these guys, they have the sac underneath of this antenna, antennials, which is called statocysts, and the statocysts are sacs inside of it has. The green gland also, you will see it, is at the base of the antenna, antennials. And they are part of the excretory system, the green glands. So this is the gross anatomy of these animals. Let's go from up here, antenna, antennials. Okay, he's talking about first antenna, first antennials. I'm talking about, oh, come on, again. Okay, oh, we went back. So here is the antennials. This is antenna. And then eye, compound eye, cephalothorax, and then the abdomen, telson, right? Uropod. So 4 uropods, 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and 1 telson in the middle. Swimreds, the very first one is for reproduction. Okay. And then you have the chela walking legs, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. He's considering the chela and cheliped part of the walking legs. Okay. And then you have your mandible and maxilla. These are maxilla, maxilliped, which I'm not worried about these for your lab practical and other things. These are what I'm worried about. Okay, cheliped and chela. Chela is this segment, and the entire thing is chela ped. Walking legs, and then swimreds. Telson, of course. And in the back, these are tergum. And from inside, if you would, the animal is shown side view. You cannot see the inside. But from inside, it's called sternum. Sterna is plural and sternum. Okay, here is the internal anatomy. Each one of these is biramus, 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 biramus. Of course, it depends what this one is. If a male is straight and if it is a female, it's biramus. But anyhow, the entire thing is chiliped all the way from here to here. And then chila is just that segment right here. Eyes, brain, stomach, heart, pericardium, you know, the sac around the heart, ostium, you know, parts of the heart, testes, yes, intestine, uropod, anus, right here, telson. Okay, we talked about all of these swimreds, copulatory swimreds, and so on and forth. He's mentioning the very first one, or right here. The very first one is a copulatory swimreds. Vas deferens, yeah, walking legs, ganglion, digestive glands. I'm not talking. Okay, this is a cross section of the animals. You remember somewhere in your notes, I said the gills look like feather, right there. That's what the gills are. Okay, the gills right here are feather-like. And then coxa, the portion of the very first portion of the walking legs, and then what else? Nerve cords. I said the nerve is like a ladder. Remember that. Okay. Sternal artery, do not wait, pericardium, heart is on top, and so on and so forth. Edge of the carapace, so digestive glands, coxa, nerve cords, nothing big deal. Okay. Malacostotrica, largest and most diverse class of the crustacean. That's the only class we discuss. And with more than 20,000 species worldwide, order Isopoda, I don't expect you to know the name of the orders in here, but you should know Isopoda is a crustacean. Okay, so that is, I might ask through a question, which of the following is a crustacean? Isopoda is the one. But I don't expect you to know the orders, because these things change quickly. One of the few classifications. One of the few truly terrestrial crustaceans that also have marine and freshwater forms. Dorsoventrally flattened, like Carapace, and have also sessile compound eyes. First pair of thoracic champion maxilloped, while none of that is that big deal. Okay, brief summary of crustaceans. Common land forms include sow bugs and pill bugs. So pill bugs, remember, these are the two you probably, as a child, you did play with them. So they're crustaceans. Pill bug, yes, they're crustaceans that live under stones and damp spaces, even though terrestrial, the isopod cuticle lacks effective protection of the insects that kills and some moist environment. Okay. Some isopoda are highly modified as parasites of fish and crustaceans, so grow to large size, more than 40 centimeters, and live in depth of 20. Here's a pill bug and snow bug. They're showing you guys here for your enjoyment. Forms and functions. So hemocoel, I talked about that. The muscles, they work opposite of each other. For example, the muscles in the back of when we were in the crayfish, I should have talked about it, those extensor and flexor muscles. Extensor and flexor muscles are the form antagonistic. They are antagonistic to each other. It means they work opposite of each other, so the animal can move. Abdominal flexors allow it swim backward and escape the predators and burst speed. Okay. Hemocoel, here we go, great. I gave you a good definition of hemocoel. Major space in arthropods that come from persistent blastocele, which is filled with blood, and then a coelomic compartment remains as end sacs of excretory organs and space around the gonads. Some other crustaceans, isopod, we talked about it, terrestrial and some marine fish, water, wood lice, pill bug, snow bug, no carapace, sessile compound eyes, gills, and copepod. Okay, copepod, you remember we talked about, I was waiting for this, copepod, if you remember, we talked about this parasite, Drocunculus medinensis, New Guinea worms, remember that? Right here. So people get it by drinking water. And I showed you some pictures in the past that a gentleman was stepping in a pond of water, and then another gentleman, the worm was coming out of his legs, and they rolled it around the stick. You remember that? So the name of the organism, the name of the genus is Cyclops. So when people drink water that has that, it's microscopic, that organism is very small, and they cannot see it. So when they drink water, the L3 of this parasite, Drocunculus medinensis, is inside of that Cyclops. So it goes to the stomach, the organism Cyclops dies, and the L3 get out and become L4 adult. The male and female, of course, you're supposed to drink more than one Cyclops. and some of them have male larvae and some of them have female larvae. When it goes in there and become male, female, they copulate, and the female comes out of the leg to when the person sense the environment and so on and so forth. It's a moist environment. It comes out of the leg to go in that body of the water, and release the youngs, the L1. And the L1 go find the cyclops. And then the female can go back up into the leg. Usually they don't stick around unless the person sees it and move it by a stick. So now you have a better appreciation, a better idea of the life cycle of the Dracunculus medinensis. No compound eyes, major food for whales and fishes. Some are ectoparasitic. Barnacles can be parasitic, damage ships and speeding boats, and Daphnia, water flea. These are diet of many fishes and whales, young in brood chambers underneath of Carapace, and so on and so forth. Here's a life cycle of Dracunculus medinensis again. Here is, for a long time, they thought the barnacles, they are mollusks because of their shell right here. What happened? Okay, sorry about that, guys. Okay, so go back. When you hit something, so the shell they have here, and they thought this is the all of the structures in here. Do not worry about it. But I would like you to know barnacles are monoecious and practice cross-fertilization and parthenogenesis, and they are. Did I ever mention it? Yeah, they damage whales right here. You can see it on the whales. Not all whales, like a blue whale, killer whale. They do not attach to killer whales. Whales and ships. Nowadays, they make the ships in a way that they do these barnacles do not attach to them. Okay, so again, depends on a lot of things. Okay, Hexapoda, if you would, the next subphylum is subphylum Hexapoda. Look at this chart. The reason that most of the semester I spent on, well, we didn't spend most of the semester on arthropods. It would not be fair to the rest of the animal kingdom, even though there are schools that offer entomology and they talk about insects for a good portion of semester. So here are the rest of the arthropods, if you would. Here are all of the animals we studied that they do not have vertebrates. Here are protozoa right here. And here are the vertebrate animals, the chordates. Not even vertebrates, the chordates, which is right here. Sea spurts. It's a chordate animal. They consider as a chordate. So as you can see, we do not spend too much time on chordates because they're a small portion of the animal kingdom. We did spend a good amount of time on all of this, right? From here to here. Maybe I should pick a different. Oh, what did I do? Oh, God. So we did spend a good portion of the semester on this to here, from here to here. Anyhow, okay. So arthropod, the insects, subphylum Hexapoda, class Insecta. Entomology is the name of the science of studying insects. Hexapoda are named for the presence of 6 legs, which are uniramous, not biramous. They're, like the legs of crayfish, crustaceans are biramous. Okay. So these guys are uniramous, and the name of the subphylum used to be Uniramians, but now they changed it. So two classes with Hexapoda, subphylum Hexapoda. One class, of course, is Insecta, and we'll spend time on this one. And the other class, Integuments, it means the base of the mouth part enclosed with the head capsule. And Insecta, which is outside head, is the capsule. So we will not talk about this class, but we'll talk about the class Insecta. They can cause infestation and infection in some species. So like in horse pot, they go inside of the stomach, they cause infection, and then they come out of the horse. And of course, on the surface of the body of the horse, they cause infestation. Most parasitics arthropods are similar to the free-living relatives, different in behavior, physiology, and mode of life. Okay, so they usually look alike, but their physiology and their behavior, the parasitic ones and free-living ones, are different. Largest class master in every habitat except deep sea, okay, except in the ocean, they did not master there. Mandibulates, the mouth part is mandible, and mouth parts for chewing, sucking, and sponging, of course. Sponging is they can tear the skin of their prey, and the mouth part, they have another mouth part, it comes in like a sponge, it sucks the blood. That's what they call it, sponging. Okay. Head, thorax, abdomen, of course, two eyes and usually three simple eyes. Thorax has 3 parts and 2 wings and 4 wings attached to it. So you have the parts of the thorax. These animals are so elaborate. So there is a prothorax and mesothorax, and then you have metathorax, and that's it. Thank you. And thorax also contain the legs as well. It can usually have 6 legs. Direct and indirect flight muscles. So what happens when the picture comes? Well, we are not in person. I would have asked you, please remind me to talk about direct flight muscles too. But I will remember. When the picture comes, I will talk about the direct flight muscles as well. Direct flight muscles, it means the muscles attached to the exoskeleton parts, attached to the wings, sorry about that, attached to the wings directly. They do not attach to the abdomen, to the sternum or pterygium. Okay, who will come? Okay, Eptrigota, A, it means without, as you know, and Terry, of course, T silent, P silent, Terry, but when you say the Eptrigota, it's without wings. These are the insects without wings. So wingless insects, 2 orders and little, if any, metamorphosis. Example, springtail or snow fleas and silverfish. Pterygota, now you don't see the P, you don't say it, but you spell it, okay? So pterygota, these are the flying insects. Have wings? Well, they have wings, sorry about that. Not necessarily they fly. They have wings or lost them, and there are 22 orders, different degrees of metamorphosis, except Trigota, hemimetabolous, eggs, nymph, adult, and then you have incomplete metamorphosis, and that's what hemi means almost, metamorphosis, and that's what is called hemi, incomplete metamorphosis. Wings formed during the final molt, Diptera, it means holometabolous, egg, larva, pupa, adult, and wings formed during pupation, complete metamorphosis. Okay, and then I gave you a whole bunch of different type of metabolises. Ametabolous, it means egg, young, adult. Examples, horseshoe crab, spiders, and that is for the whole entire phylum. Okay, these terminologies, different types of metamorphosis. So centipedes and silverfish. Not necessarily this goes hand to hand just with this class or with this subphylum. I think I talked about the hemimetabolous before. I'm just giving you examples. Holometabolous, I have not talked about it. It means complete metamorphosis, egg, larva, pupa, adult. Bees, butterflies. You've seen it in butterflies, right? The silkworm. Butterflies is the larva that you actually get this and make the silk from it. Beetles, flies. Okay, what is the difference between nymph and pupa? Nymph is an immature stage in is morphologically similar to the adult in hemimetabolous. On the other hand, pupa, a larva stage before the adult stage in holometabolous insects, and not necessarily look like adult. Okay, so during these nymph and pupa stage, that they can be, the metabolism is lower, the animal is not that active, and so on and so forth. But that's the main difference between the two right here I mentioned. Okay, great. I got to the flight muscles now. So right here, these are the muscles, as you can see, ventricle, vertical muscles, and you have the pleural process and so on. Okay, so you have another set of muscles right here. Another says, if you look at this, it is extended, this muscle and that muscle extended between tergum and sternum. And then you have another set of muscles in between. So that animal, it has indirect flight muscles. So what would be direct flight muscles? If this is the animal, this is the wing, this is the wing, and then the flight muscles attached to the wing right here. That is, it is a very primitive, and you know, at the beginning of semester, I talked about primitive direct. It means evolutionary wise, this is not good. This is better to be indirect. So what happens in direct, the abdomen and the, not the abdomen, the tergum and sternum, they go up and down. And so as a result, the wings go up and down. That's what they call it, indirect flight muscles. Direct flight muscles, the flight muscles attached to the wings. Okay, reproductive system, there is, you know, most of this, you know, the testes, and then you have sperm duct, accessory glands right here, and seminal vesicles, and then you have the ejaculatory duct and penis. Okay, nothing new as far as you guys know. Same as ovary, and then you have oviduct right here, and then you come to a common oviduct, and then you have the accessory glands, and then you have vagina, not much of a uterus in here. However, there is a structure right here, it's called spermatheca. Spermatheca, it can store sperm from the male. We humans do not have that structure. So spermatheca, theca, it means a sac. A sac can store sperm. So that's why these animals can put thousands and hundreds of eggs out, fertilized. Okay, worm-like larva, caterpillar, butterfly, we talked about it, crab larva, legless, flies. Life cycle, if you would, it goes from molting to molting. Throughout the life cycle, they molt, okay? Even as adult. Not the larval stages, not the nymph, yeah, they molt, but even the adult animals molt and molt and molt. So the molting goes on and on and on, and between each molt, I talked about that, that is called instar or stage between the molting. You remember when the animal molt right here at the beginning, the animal is very vulnerable to be eaten. It does not have his armor, suit armor. You remember I talked about that at the beginning of the lecture? So they're vulnerable to be eaten. Osmoregulations and what is this? Excretions, incomplete, impermeable integuments. Of course, their skin is impermeable. Malpighian tubules and rectum. I talked about Malpighian tubules in the past. The Malpighian tubules are for absorption of excess water and also minerals and some vitamins. Absorbs ions from hemolymph. Rectal pads absorbs water and return it to the hemolymph. Respiration, oxygen directly from the air. Spiracles open to trachea. And why spiracles have valves? You remember I talked about spiders. The spiracles did not have valves. These guys, they have valves because they do not want dust, parasites, anything else get inside of the animals. So on the spiracles, these animals have valves. Trachea, branch to tracheoles. What is the difference between trachea and spiders and insects? I already talked about that, the presence of the valve. Aquatic insects have gills. Here's an egg larva, pupa, and adult. The pupa does not look like adult, and this is a beetle. Okay, so this is holometabolous. Holometabolous. Here is order Hymenoptera, the Cetae and everything else. I have nothing to talk about the details of this picture. What adaptations do insects have over weather changes? Some die after releasing the eggs before the cold winter happens. That's why it is critical for us to have cold winters. It will kill a lot of arthropods. When we do not have cold winters, then these animals are persistent all over the year. And some of them, again, I'm talking about some, and they can transmit diseases and so on and so forth, which I will not get to. Diapause can happen in any stage, egg, larva, pupa, or adult. It means the animal stops and do not have a great metabolism. Partial endothermy, it means the portions of the animal is colder than another portion of the animal. So that's what partial endothermy means. Pile, they have fat deposits or carbohydrate deposits inside of them. And then during wintertime, they use them. The sensus organs of nervous system, receptors, they respond to the mechanical stimulations, light, movement of the air. Chemoreceptors, pheromones. Pheromone have been studied in animals very well. There are lots of papers if you go, and they have done it in other animals, but if we human, we don't know much about pheromones. It's something that you release, the odor that you release, and it attracts the opposite sex. Usually female release the pheromones and attract male. The best pheromone well studied is in dogs. Dogs pheromone, a male dog can sense a pheromone of a female dog from miles away. Okay, so that's what the chemoreceptors are. Compound eyes and hexagonal, not rectangular facets like crustaceans. Antenna is part of the central nervous system. No flying control centers, no cockpit. So scientists still cannot find where these animals control their flying mode, the way they fly, the way they go. They cannot find really where that center is in these animals. Digestive system, a pair of mandible, jaw, hypopharynx, tongue, labrum, upper lips, labium, lower lips, and is that all? Is mandible, of course, and maxilla. You will see those in microscopic slides of the mouth part, the maxillomandible, mandible, hypopharynx, labrum, and labium. Yes, upper lips, lower lips is called labium. Okay, foregut, midgut, hindgut. The foregut is where equivalent to our stomach a little bit, our mouth and stomach, and then midgut is a little bit of digestion, and then hindgut you have a lot of absorption. So absorption, a little bit of absorption and digestion, and this is mainly digestion. And I talked about digestion at the beginning of semester, breaking down the food. Okay, foregut, crop, and gizzard. Crop is for storage, gizzard is for grinding. Easy to remember. Gizzard grinds, and crop is stores. And midgut, they have ceca and stomach, a little bit of absorption and digestion occurring there. And hindgut, intestine and rectum, mainly is for absorption. Many ants and termites cultivate fungi in their burrows. So they know agriculture. Maybe we humans learn from them how to do agriculture. Reproductive and behavior, fertilization is internal, oviparous, they do them all three of them. Oviparous, viviparous, and برم to airplane mode. Okay, guys, sorry about that. My internet got disconnected, but I'm back on now. Okay, so order Orthoptera, cockroach, grasshopper. Let me put my cell phone on airplane mode. Hopefully that way my signal of my home internet would be okay. So mantides, crickets, these are all examples. Not much of whatever is important as far as characteristics of that order, I will point it out. I will say this is important about this order that you should know. Of course, the species you should know. You should know the species in that order. Okay, so order Diptera and order Ballateria. The scientists would like to argue about cockroach, where cockroach goes. Anyhow, head, thorax, abdomen, two compound eyes, mandibles. Of course, they all have mandibles. Maxilla posterior and two mandible, veins in the wings. Okay, three ocelli, two jointed antenna. None of these are significant to me at all. Coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia. I gotta show you sorry about that. That was one of former student. He's in medical school right now. So, but anyhow, segments of leg, coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, and tarsus. Spiracles, sensory cerci, and then, okay, these are the comparisons of the body cavity in these animals. Okay, and they're showing you the blue from beginning of semester until now, the grasshopper, most advanced animals. The very primitive animals, gastrovascular cavity and intestine and the planaria, and then earthworm, and then finally grasshopper. You've dealt with them before. Okay, so grasshopper, anatomy, you should know. These are the things that I'm mentioning, you should know. So here's a head region, here's a thorax region, and here is the abdomen region. So you have fore wings and hind wings. The campani, ocelli in the front, antenna. The legs, I will talk about, well, yeah, it has a femur, of course. This is the femur part. And there is a coxa and trochanter. So coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, tarsi, and the claws. So ovipositor, that's where the female deposits eggs. And then, of course, the mouth part, ocelli, I think I talked about everything in there. The spiracles, they have valves. There are spiracles right here, spiracles right here, spiracle right here, spiracle right here, right here. So they have valves. And then, of course, after spiracles, you have the air sacs and trachea and so on and so forth. The internal structures for mouth part, and then you have the intestine, crop, gizzard, and these are the cecum. When we dissected these animals, they had huge cecum. And then you have Malpighian tubules, and then we should be good for this, most of this. Same thing again, I'm not gonna go in great details. The mouth part, you do have slides of it, microscopic slides of it. So labrum, remember that? I talked about it, the mandible. Do not worry about left and right mandible. I will never ask that. Maxilla, make sure you know that. And do not worry about the parts of maxilla. You have labrum on top, labium on the bottom, and then you have the hypopharynx. That's not a, do not worry about the name of the parts of the labium. The hypopharynx is not a good one, but they draw it like that. The microscopic slides we have is a little bit different. Okay, guys. Okay, order Diptera, the most infamous order. How about that? That it causes a lot of diseases. So again, there are lots of diseases in here that I'm going to mention, and I would like you to know them. Okay, one pair of wings on mesothorax, not insignificant. Halters, yes, something about the halters you should know. Halters, they are the wings that some scientists are saying that these things are vestigial. They had a function at one time, these halters, but now we do not have a function for them, and that's what the halters are. A holometabolous, and how to tell flies from mosquito. Mosquito has 14 to 15 segments antenna, elongated proboscis, fringes of the scales on wings. A true fly is written as two words, horsefly, housefly. These are you familiar with. Nodrial fly, dragonfly, mayfly, butterfly. These are not true flies. It means they do not belong to this order. If you write a fly with two words, housefly, horsefly, it belongs to this order Diptera. If you write a dragonfly, mayfly, butterfly, they are not in this order. Okay, I hope I'm making some sense. Ideal targets for mosquito. I got this from a student, so I thought I'd put it in here. I'm not going to go over it. You read it. Diseases, biological vectors, intermediate host, Diarrhea emetis. You know about this one, the dog heartworm, transmitted by culex. It is in the United States. Wuchereria bancrofta is not in the United States, but it's transmitted by different species of culex. Plasmodium, malaria, not in the United States, by Anopheles. Viral encephalitis, now we have West Nile in the United States. We didn't have it prior to 1990s. So equine encephalomyelitis, we did have that in the United States by culex. Okay, here's a life cycle of these organisms that I talked about a little bit. I'm not gonna go into detail of them. Yellow fever by Aedes, and Onchocerca volvulus or black fly by black fly Similium damunsum. I mean, damn it, I guess that's what they call it, Similium. It causes river blindness. Philobotomanis, the sandfly, Leishmania, Thalassia eyeworm. There was one study in Poland. All of the cattle in Poland had eyeworm. The eyeworm of cattle is different than eyeworm of human. But anyhow, it's transmitted by a face fly. Tsetse fly is Glossina and transmit trypanosoma, hypoderma, cattle grubs getting, there are stories that these flies poke a hole in the back of the animal and they get out of the animal, and that's not pleasant. Animal is harmed and so on and so forth. Of course, if you have a farm, you cannot sell the skin of the cow as a leather. So horse spots do not harm horses. We do have this in the lab, but this is the one that I was talking about, the horse spot that causes the infestation and infection. Common housefly is Musca domestica. Here they're showing you the life cycle of these species and some of the ones that cause problem. Thalassia again. Okay. Prevention, what to do with these animals, how to prevent them. And I think that's prevention. I'm gonna stop right here. Oh, no, let's not stop. The order, the lice, louse is singular, lice is plural. So Anoplura have piercing mouth part. Again, Anoplurans, ectoparasites of placental animals, only stout mandibles, wingless. None of these characteristics, I would like you to know, they're not significant, but they are very host specific and they become site specific. That is something you should know. And simple metamorphosis, host specific and site specific, Pediculus humanus, that's the name of the louse, and they can attach to clothing, they can attach the hair, and this is called knit, the eggs. Here is a hair follicle, here is a hair follicle, and the knit attaches to the hair. So human louse spreads typhus, Thyrus pubis, pH is silent. Thyrus pubis is a pubic lice, and it can be transmitted, sexually transmitted. Okay, scabies also can be transmitted by sex. Well, two persons come in contact with each other. Pediculus humanus capitis, human head louse, and Pediculus